Glad to be alive. And today the United States of America is celebrating their Independence Day. Funny, very funny. Now, we move on to other matters. Now, every morning we know the first segment, what we do is just to focus on news that made headlines. That was yesterday. And then we take a look, number two, we'll be taking a look at the dailies or the newspapers. And finally, we'll be having a guest on board for a discussion here and there. So wanted to get to the first business of day. President William Ruto, through the State House spokesperson Hussein Mohammed, has directed the National Treasury to reconsider the SRC readings that were given there earlier on. Now, has directed the National Treasury to review the August 9th, 2023 Gazette notice from the Salaries and Remuneration Commission regarding the salaries and allowances of government officials in the national government, Senate, and National Assembly. This review comes in light of the removal of the 2024 Finance Bill and the expected financial constraints of this fiscal year. The President emphasized that now more than ever, all public workers should live within their means, along with the overall national resource capability. The President's decision comes hours after several members of Parliament rejected the proposed increase. The new salary published in the Government Gazette will see the salaries and allowances of government officials in the national government, Senate, National Assembly, county government, and independent commissions increase. Now, the Salaries and Remuneration Commission met to discuss the salary increase dispute and held a press conference at its headquarters this evening to clarify the salary increase issue. Led by its chairperson, Lynn Mengich, the Commission said that SRC had not approved the publication of a gazette regarding a salary increase for public employees. This comes after President William Ruto directed the National Treasury to revisit the salary increase issue due to the national budget cut and also asked the SRC to address it. Mengage stated that the move has been reverted and no salary increase will be granted to public employees due to the national economic downturn.
SRC takes this early opportunity to clarify that the salary increases for state officers has not been newly gazetted as referenced in the media. SRC set and published a gazette notice on 9th August 2023 as part of the third remuneration and benefits review cycle for state officers and other public officers that would be implemented over a 2-year period, 2023-2024 financial years and 2024-2025 financial year. This review came after a 2-year freeze on pay structures for the period 2021-22 financial year and 2022-2023 financial year on account of the impact of COVID-19 on the economy. The remaining 2 years would be implemented in 2 phases. The review cycle, which is an obligation pursuant to Section 11E of SRC Act, covers the entire public service, both state officers and other public officers. Within the context of affordability and fiscal sustainability and pursuant to Article 230 of the Constitution of Kenya 2010. In view of the emerging fiscal constraints and the proposed budget cuts and existing contractual commitments, and in further consultation with stakeholders, including the National Treasury, SRC has reviewed the setting and advice of pay for the second phase of the implementation for 2024-2025 financial years. Therefore, in consultation with the National Treasury, SRC hereby freezes the upward review of salaries for all state officers and will review the advice for all other officers, taking into account the current realities of the economy, taking into account any contractual commitments and reduced budget so as to ensure affordability and fiscal sustainability of the public wage bill. SRC has been conscious of the need to ensure prudent fiscal sustainability of the public wage bill and has consistently taken measures towards ensuring that public service operates within the prescribed affordability limits. Consequently, the wage bill has come down from 54.77% of revenue in 2020-21 to 46.64% in 2022-2023. The wage bill is expected to further decline to 35% of revenue by 2028.
Our Senator Aaron Cheruiyot has strongly criticized Inspector General of Police Japhet Koome, calling him unfit for the position. Speaking during a special session in the Senate yesterday afternoon, he claimed that Koome had failed to oversee police officers, leading to a loss of public confidence. He also emphasized that national security is paramount and urged swift action to address these ongoing issues. His remarks came amid growing concerns over law enforcement and national security implementation within the country.
Kenyans have lost their lives, others have been beaten, there have been challenges. Police have faced also very difficult and hostile gangs on the streets. I am yet to hear the voice of the Inspector General. I am deeply troubled by that, Mr. Speaker. It cannot be right. We were in this country, though I was not a leader and I was a young person in university, Mr. Speaker, when we faced the post-election violence, day by day, General Hussein Mohammed will brief the country and speak to the country and give them an update of what is happening. How can we face such a crisis, Mr. Speaker? Up to this particular point, I don't know what the Inspector General thinks. I don't know what is the challenge. We don't know these things that are being discussed. Mr. Speaker, the question at the back of my mind, is this really the right man for this job? Mr. Speaker, we must think critically, finally, about Article 37. We have had conversations and debates here on this house, whether the demonstrations peaceful or not. How is it that we continue to struggle as a country with this thing of peaceful demonstrations? What is it that we are supposed to do? Can't we guide and provide the way forward so that people can know that if I want to peacefully demonstrate as expected of me, under rights guaranteed under my constitution, what is it that we are supposed to do? Because a new trend is emerging, and we have seen this, Mr. Speaker, where any time when you organize a demonstration, infiltration and separating between those that are peacefully protesting, Mr. Speaker, and those that want to take advantage of the environment and the climate that has been created is difficult to distinguish. And I'd wish to request the House that we don't exit on this motion until first we provide the way forward and guidance.
Now, the Azimio la Umoja coalition has accused the government of interfering with peaceful demonstrations, stating that they were instigated by agitators despite protesters exercising their democratic duty according to the constitution. In a press conference, Kalonzo Musyoka called on President William Ruto to resign, alleging that the president used special methods to silence the opposition. Despite these challenges, Kalonzo said the coalition will remain steadfast in ensuring it achieves its goals for the people of Kenya.
From hashtag reject the finance bill to hashtag Ruto must go, Ruto and his henchmen sponsored goons infiltrated with the sole intention of destabilizing the continued peaceful protests. These disgraceful, criminal and illegal activities violate the right to peaceful protest as provided for under Article 37 of the Constitution of Kenya 2010. Despite these perpetuated horrors, the young people have continued to march our streets, determined to drive and realize meaningful change for themselves, their families, and their country. We have observed that the intention of yesterday's well-organized, coordinated, and state-sponsored chaos was to undermine and denigrate the Gen Z-inspired nationwide nonviolent protests. Looting was intentional. The destruction was planned. The torching of public and private property worth billions of shillings was carried out in collaboration with the already corrupted security forces in the full glare of the media, and indeed the international media as well as the onlookers. We also note that despite a court injunction prohibiting the use of live ammunition, tear gas and crude weapons to disperse protests, police continue to deploy arbitrary gunfire, resulting in innocent deaths and injuries. To restore peace in the country, we demand that police act swiftly in identifying and apprehending all the violent and criminal elements that infiltrated the peaceful protest.
Now, 2 people have been confirmed dead in a road accident in Kwale County after their vehicle rolled over, killing them both. They were transporting the Mogoka plant when the accident occurred. The driver and his assistant died on the spot when the vehicle lost control. Residents expressed fear over the road, citing it as narrow and contributing to frequent accidents, and called on the government to address the issue.
Hii nilikuwa natoka Kwale hapa center kuchukua mbolea. So nilipokuwa kinarudi nikaja kukuta gari imeanguka hapa, na kuna watu wawili ambao walikuwa wako hali mahututi sana, lakini sioni kwamba watapona. Na hii gari ilikuwa imebeba Mogoka. Sisi tunaangalia wale. So tukaingia ndani ya gari, tukachukua mguu mmoja tukampeleka hospitali, alafu huyo mwingine pia naye akaenda huko akapelekwa kwa hospitali.
Hii ni ajali ambaye nafikiri ilisababishwa na kitu fulani. Manake hii barabara ni nyembamba. Ukiangalia kama upande huu ni bonde, upande huu ni bonde. Sasa kukitokea emergency yoyote ile, hakuna kwa kujitetea. Aidha ugonge ama uanguke kwa hiyo bonde. Sasa mimi ningeomba serikali pengine ifanue hii barabara ama iweke hizi vyuma za kusuia.
Kama hawa wenzetu ambao analeta huu Mogoka huku Kwale wamegeuza mbinu, badala ya kuingia wakiwa na zile official pickup zao, wameficha mizigo ya Mogoka katika hizi gari za kibinafsi. So nadhani za challenge kwa sasa serikali itabidi huu msako wa hawa watu ambao analeta Mogoka kinyume na sheria tuweze kuongeza kasi, tuhakikisha kwamba hata hizi gari ambazo kwa sasa zinatumika za kibinafsi lakini zinabeba mizigo ya Mogoka pia nazo ziwe zinapatikana.
Welcome to the Morning Live Newspaper Review. Consolata Chibalonza is my name. Now we have quite a lot in the newspapers today. The Standard kicking us off. Senate to Ruto, rid yourself of excess baggage. Now the senators, while debating the state of the nation, told the president that for him to ride out the protest storm, he needs to fire the cabinet and advisors, drop the CAS idea, and disband unconstitutional offices. Now, this happened yesterday during the Senate proceedings. Boni Khalwale, Kakamega Senator, says, I call on the president to disband the cabinet and reconstitute it afresh, do away with the chief administrative secretary office and office of the first lady. And we have Aaron Cheriot, Senator, the Senate Majority Leader. The Senate wants the National Police Service to cease abductions and lawful arrests, extrajudicial killings, and exercise restraint. Then we have Edwin Sifuna, Nairobi County Senator. I'm calling for an audit for all cases that have been withdrawn by the Director of Public Prosecutions. Yes. That is what the Standard has in store for us. Then we have JSS teachers. Money was added to schools, protest anxieties. And then number 2, AG flags shady deals in KAA audit. That is 120. That is in the business page, sorry. Then 120,000 babies stolen in Georgia. That's alarming. Pressure piles as Euro gets to the quarters. Yes, the Euros is in the quarterfinals. Now, no pay rise for MPs. This is according to SRC chairperson or chair lady, Mengich. And then at the back of the Standard, Spain can't tumble and fall as Euro 2024 heads into quarters. Now, Spain versus Germany, that is tomorrow at 7 p.m. and Portugal versus France at still same time tomorrow. And on Saturday, we have England versus Switzerland, Netherlands versus Turkey. That will be closing the quarterfinals, and then we move to the semis, and finally to the finals. Which team shall win? Only God knows. Now we go to the Daily Nation. The Daily Nation talks of jitters as Ruto cabinet purge looms, keen to assuage widespread disaffection among the youth who have taken the country hostage with the mass demonstrations. President William Ruto is said to be planning a major shakeup of his executive in a move that will see some ministers and PSS moved or sent packing. Now, also how goons infiltrated the youth protests is something being featured by the Daily Nation, and why President stopped pay rise for state officers also featured. Right there, why some MPs fear visit to constituents. The short recess for members of parliament, which started last week and runs to July 22nd, is turning out to be one of a kind, especially for lawmakers who voted in favor of the Finance Bill 2024 that has been withdrawn, or has it? All right, that is all for the Nation newspaper. At the back of the Nation, of course, it's about the SRC's plan being shot by Ruto to raise top officials' salary. All right. We go to the final newspaper, that is the Star. Now, the Star talks about dissolve cabinet, Ruto allies demand. And Ruto allies, not Ruto falls, but Ruto allies demand that the cabinet should be dissolved. Our president's closest allies join growing calls for sweeping changes in government. And then we have photos of Sunbeam Shopping Mall along Fangano Street that was burnt during the demonstration in Nairobi. And then a vandalized designer shop along Moi Avenue in Nairobi. And then also vandalized Dovi Chemist along Nyerere Road in Mombasa. What are you stealing from a chemist, surely? Anywho, that is what the Star is talking about at the very top. Those who looted during Tuesday's protest were not Gen Zs. That is a statement by former Prime Minister Raila Amolo Odinga. And then at the very back, time for revenge. Cheruyot eyes Inge Brigtsen scalp at Monaco Diamond League. Then also Nyakongo Kandaria for Siaya Games as rivals lose appeal. Athletics, that is Olympic-bound Kasait to face Ethiopians in the 500-meter run. That is all we have in the newspapers. Now, coming up next is, of course, the discussion. We'll be having someone on stage to talk about mental health and drug addiction, a conversation I'm sure we all want to get into and to understand more about. My name is Consolata Chibalonza. This is definitely EBN TV, and you are watching EBN TV Morning Live. I'll be joining you in 5 minutes or less. Keep it right here, and we will be back. Welcome back to EBN TV. Every morning we have a recap of the news, then we have the dailies, and finally the discussions. And that is what we are here for. And I am glad to be joined by someone who is here with a great and an amazing story that has spiked my interest. It has just touched on some very sensitive areas of my life, and I hope it will impact your influence you as well. I will allow him to introduce himself. Welcome very much, Isaac.
Thank you for having me.
Tell us a little bit about yourself.
First, thank you for having me. It's an honor and pleasure to be here this morning. And I thank the Lord for this opportunity to be here just to share a bit and matters that are really of great interest to just not this nation, but throughout the world. I'm Isaac Mwibanda. I'm 55 years old, a father of 6 children, married to one wife, and it's not been an easy journey. I grew up, I was born in a Christian family. My dad was in the KDF those days, and my mother too. They were very, very staunch Christians. And so I grew up knowing God, matters, Sunday school, memory verses, dramas about Jesus. So I was brought up in a Christian disciplined family because my dad was a KDF officer, so discipline was in our DNA, so to speak. So growing up was very interesting because as a child, you know, the way kids love matters, God and Sunday school. So I knew who God was. I'd started experiencing who God was in the early part of my family through my dad and my mother and our other siblings. And having grown in a close-knit Christian family, because I remember even those days, every Tuesday we used to have fellowships in our house, and we could gather around. The fellowship was for soldiers, you know, and after work, I remember even they could come home with the uniform. They have fellowship up to about 7:38, sing together. So it was fun. But I went to Form 1. I joined Form 1. I was 14 years old, and so that was the first time I was away from home, from the discipline, from the strictness. That was because it was a boarding school, and I went to a school in Thika, and so there was, for the first time, I was on my own. And during those days in 80s, there was a lot of bullying in schools, and so I met some guys from Nairobi, and you know, because of the identity, tunatoka mtaa, so we could speak the same language in Thika, and so I joined this group just for security and just identity, and so I didn't know they had been expelled in several. There were 3 guys. They were expelled in different schools in Nairobi. I didn't know that, so I joined them. And then they were also boxers. So they used to play boxing, and so that was perfect because I knew when I joined these guys, nobody would touch them.
You're safe.
Yeah, I'm safe. Yeah, because there were those tunaoita marui wa shule, everybody would fear them. So that was a perfect, so to speak, match. And so later kidogo we started sneaking from school because they had to go and do their boxing. There kulikuwa na river hapo, so wamefunga the sack, put sand, so it's like a punching bag. So we started sneaking from school, going to punch bags. And so there is when now I saw them smoking stuff, and like kidogo, I started smoking weed. Started with cigarettes, then graduated to marijuana. Then after a while, started going out, sneaking, going to clubs in Thika, started doing alcohol. And in a short while, I got hooked. I was already hooked in marijuana, cigarettes, and alcohol. And so our routine was we wake up in school, do our cleaning, go for breakfast. When guys are going to class, we sneak out, go and punch bags, do our weed, come back to class, to school, do our lunch, then again sneak out. So that meant classes, I wasn't attending classes. So my grades started going down, and that meant also at home, I started being rude and being a boxer then, so I would experience with my siblings, when somebody reports me, he found me smoking weed in the house, because I used to smoke in the house, in the army barracks, inside the barracks. And so after a while, everybody started knowing, hey, kijana squeezy. It was started spreading, there's something about this boy, and so started experiencing disciplinary issues in school, being sent away to call my parents. And by then my dad, because of the nature of his work, he was in the military intelligence, so most times he wasn't at home. So I would go with my mother, go sort out, suspended, given warnings, started going down the spiral, downwards. So that was 84. By the time 84 ended in December, I was already an addict of marijuana, alcohol, and cigarettes. So come 85, my dad thought it's getting out of hand. So he thought that changing schools was the best option for me. So I was taken to a national school in South Nyanza, Kanga High School. It's a national school, very good school up to now. I remember last year, I think they got 123 A's, standing A's. And so I went there. So that is in Migori. So that meant I had to travel from Nairobi to Migori. And sometimes I always like telling the parents and people that changing environment without changing the mindset sometimes isn't the solution. First, you have to deal with the mindset of this person, because I always say it's just like transferring a problem from this location to another. So, and for me, that's how it became, and for me it became worse, because now that meant I had to travel overnight from Nairobi to Migori, and now I started doing cat, mirror, as I travel, carrying alcohol from the AFCO those days, those mess. Alcohol was very cheap, and cigarettes, and so carrying my weed to school, and I'm doing cat to school. So reaching South Nyanza, I found there's a lot of changa. Changa is there in a lot, and so I was introduced to doing changa. Then shortly I met some DJs, mobile DJs, so I started hanging out with DJs, and so I was introduced to Valium and Mandrax at age 15, so I started popping pills on top of all these other things. So that meant again my performance in school was wanting again, several suspensions in school, go and get my mother, she comes over, we do the cases, I'm allowed to continue. So that went on for a while. It was like a lifestyle for me. And I was those people in school who are known to be the rude boys in school. And so it continued for a while, and then I remember an incident in, I think, 86 or 87, where we bought a lot of marijuana, and we kind of threw a bash, so to speak, a marijuana bash in school. And I remember several people went crazy, literally, vichwa ziliruka in school. I remember the school was closed for some time, for 3 weeks. I think, yeah, it was announced on VOK then, Kanga High School has been closed. So after some time it was announced again, we resumed. So some people pointed fingers at me and another friend of mine, I can't mention the name because it was some influential family, still is up to now as we speak. So we were given a warning, I remember. But that didn't deter me from my adventurous activities, so to speak. So
may I ask, just all those who went crazy, did they get their sanity back, or that was it for them?
Some did, some didn't. Even as we speak now, I know 2 or 3 who are still insane, so to speak. Yeah, still some are walking naked in towns, and up to now I know 2 who are still not mentally sane. Yeah, so that's some things that I carry with me, the pain of those people. When I'm told how we met this guy, I'm sent pictures of them, that this is Nani, also, okay. So it's still, I carry the scar, knowing that I literally messed up somebody's life completely. But I thank God because I know God forgave me. I know Jesus died for me.
Yeah.
And
True.
so that's the consolation. And that's the passion I have always, to make sure I'm out talking about addiction and mental health. So I remember in 87, back to my story, there's a school captain who got me smoking weed in the dorm. I pretended I'm sick, I'm not going for preps. I mean, Form 4 guys are seriously reading for exams. And me, I want to do weed, so I pretend I'm sick, so they leave me in the dorm, they lock the dorm. We had a good dorm with the ablution block, the toilet, so they had to lock me inside. So this prefect came. He was a Form 2 guy and literally found me in the act. And so he went and reported me to the authorities. And I remember that night I beat him, almost killed him, burnt all his stuff. I remember the police were called in school. So the following morning I was expelled from school. So it was too much. They said, no, we can't tolerate this anymore. So I had to call home. My mom came over. We had an extension in the house, so it was easy for communication. So my mother came over, and so I was expelled. And I remember I told my mom, there's no need for me to do school, because by then I was already a DJ. And so I said, I'd rather let's just go back home to Nairobi and I continue with my life. And I refused, literally. I said, I'm not going back to school. We were beginning exams that Monday. I think it was on a Saturday when she came over. And so I said, I'm packing, I'm going home. And I remember the 3 guys, they were A-levels. I was in Form 4, they were in Form 6, some in Form 5. I remember very well Mheshimiwa TJ Kajwang, the MP for MP for Waraka, and there was Antonio Loach, Mheshimiwa MP for Madare, and a friend of mine called Obondo James. So they came to me and told me, Isaac, there's no need wasting 4 years. Just do your exam, even if you get whatever you get, so long as just come out with a certificate. And I thought about it. I said, okay. So I always congratulate those guys. So I listened to them. So that meant my mother had to go to the shopping center to get me a room, buy me mattress, buy me everything, because when we went to Kanga, we were given everything.
Yeah.
We never used to carry plates, washing troughs and everything, but blankets and mattresses we were being issued there. So you just had to carry your own personal belongings. So that meant my mother had to buy for me everything, sufuria, stove, plates, and mattresses, troughs, and she did that. And there I was left to begin exams, and I remember life lost meaning, and I just said, okay, let me just do my exams and then I get the hell out of here, so to speak. So that meant I wasn't reading. I was out in Changa dens, out smoking marijuana, out in clubs. And so exams came. I did my exams, finished my exams, went back to Nairobi, and continued with my life. And so exams came, the results, I performed well. So I went to Form 5. Those days we were the last lot, Form 5. Went to Form 6, same thing, nothing changed, same story. Violent in school, suspensions in school, expulsions in school. I was expelled again. Same story, did my A-level exams from out. Again, my mother came all the way. Same script again, got a room for me, everything for me again. And so I did my A-level exams, and I remember in Form 4, after the exams, I remember I sold everything my mother bought for me, including the uniform, everything, went partying, then went home just with 2-3 things in my bag. Form 6, same story, sold everything again, went home. And so there I was. So I remember because of my life, I repeated a class. I think it was in standard E6, because I started being cheeky even in primary school. I remember those being sent home to call my mother was the order of the day. So my brother caught up with me. He's a year younger than me, so caught up with me. We did CPE together with him, and so we did Form 4 with him, we did A-level with him, and he did better than me. And my dad thought he deserved to go abroad for further studies. So he went for further studies, and I felt rejected. Why not me? Because I did well, though I didn't qualify to go to do law, because I'd chosen to do law. And so I felt rejected, hated my dad for that. Because also he used to beat me, when he used to come, he told, hey, Isaac, I'm Aribika, so there was war in the house, literally. So there's this feeling I started developing that my dad doesn't love me, doesn't like me, doesn't favor me. So that hatred became so bad that I was I used to insult him, you know.
Straight to his face?
Yes. I remember there's a time he cried, literally cried in the house. It was all the family. We were having dinner, so we started an argument, and I remember he asked me, "Are you really my son? In what you're doing, this is not me, you know. You've never seen me drink, you've never seen me do stuff. And here you are." And then I just told him, "Did I send an application? Nilituma application unizae," you know, and that one made him cry, literally shed tears in front of the family. I remember everyone, the house was quiet. He cried, and I just left the food, left the house, banged the door, and went. So there was that hatred that was growing up. So that one now was a trigger. So I thought, no, my dad doesn't love me. So this is approved. He doesn't want me to go to school abroad. And I thank God, because I knew later, I knew it was God. I knew it was God, because I knew later that if I went, I know for sure I would have come back in a coffin. That one I'm sure, because where I'd reached in life, that point, I was already hooked and addicted to several other stuff. So I remember in 90, the same dad I hated got me work at Firestone, East Africa. We used to make tires on Mombasa Road. And here I am, a young guy, good company, good money. So this is where I started doing heroin and cocaine, and had a lot of issues at work, disciplinary issues, not going to work drunk, sneaking out of work, going out, drinking, coming back, because I was a mail clerk, so I had to handle a lot of the staff communication at work. So I had to go out to deliver stuff, checks, with company car. I remember I used to hide the car in downtown, go to a club, drink, go back to work. So it was evident that my discipline wasn't good. I was rude even to my boss, abusing my boss many times. And so it reached a time in 1996. Before then, I'd got in a relationship with one of my boss's daughter, had a son, who is now 32 years old. So after 6 years, it became too much, and then I had to be dismissed from work. And here I am. I was already addicted. I used to drink every day. Not just drinking the whole night, sometimes 2 days, doing drugs, going to clubs. That was my life. And so after 6 years, I was dismissed. So here I am. I'm used to high life, to have money, drinking posh hotels, the Hiltons, the Intercontinentals in town. And so here I am, no money. At that time I'd gotten in a second relationship. And so we had a son, another one again with another lady. And so after some time, I couldn't afford paying rent, and so I had to be chased out of the house with months. The kid was months. So my friends deserted me, the ones I used to hang, party with, buy alcohol. So I became suicidal, several times, wanted to commit suicide. And so I met friends. Now that meant I was hanging out with working class people in Firestone, other companies. And so now that means no money. So a friend introduced me to jet fuel. So I started drinking jet fuel, literally. We used to call it jetty. So I started drinking jet fuel, literally. And so that meant I changed company. So where jet fuel was, that meant the guys who were there, criminals, thieves, prostitutes, who hung around there. So that meant my company changed to prostitutes and thieves, because there's where I could get jet fuel and they could buy for me. And so times I thought of committing suicide, and I thank God because I know God had a purpose, has a purpose for me. He protected me many times. I almost was at the point of death, but God delivered me. And I remember many times, sometimes I could go to dangerous places to get the drugs. And I remember many times walking along the road, past places where people used to be murdered. And I remember I used to tell God, God, I know you're there. And don't forget, all that time my mother used to pray for me. My mother used to pray for me. My mother used to fast for me. I remember anytime my mother would meet a believer, she would always tell them, ombea kijana yangu Isaac, ombea kijana yangu Isaac. And I remember there's a time now, my dad had retired from KDF, had gone back home to Ebuye. There's where my village is. So my mother was still taking care of us because my father was abroad. Some siblings were still in college. There was a bro who was at the university here. So that meant my mother had to still remain with us to take care of us. So we had shifted from the barracks. So she had women who used to fast for me every Tuesday. And then there was a ministry called Tumaini. Tumaini, a lot in the slums. Yeah, so there was a team. They used to pray for me. And then come to break the fast at home. That's about from 6, 7 o'clock with fellowship. And I remember sometimes I just used to smoke my stuff just outside the door. They are there about 15, 20 people. So they have to leave the door open because of fresh air. And I'm there sitting at the veranda smoking and literally napuliza moshi kwa nyumba as prayers went on, you know. And sometimes I go to the house, we start an argument because they'll tell me about Jesus and the Bible says drinking is good for your stomach. It's there in the Bible. You know, I used to justify, the way people justify stuff to justify what they're doing. And even there's that scripture in Revelation of a plant that it heals the nation. Many people who smoke weed say that is weed. And I could say that and, justify why I'm doing it. So it went on for a while. Remember that time I'm staying with my mother. And I'm still continuing. My mother used to pray for me. I remember there are times I could come in the house at 3, 4 o'clock at night. And she's the one who used to open the door for me. She would sleep on the couch until I came back. She sees me, she said, Asante Mungu, you know, every day. And it's like, that was the situation then. And never in my mind did I doubt that God is real. I knew God. And even when I used to pass those places, and the following morning I'm told, hey, there's a guy who was alichinjwa kwa bridge, literally beheaded, and I passed that place at 3 o'clock in the night, and when I'm passing, I didn't see anything. And so it's like I used to tell myself, those guys must have been somewhere there. Yeah, so it's God. Either made them not see me, or they saw me, but God somehow protected. So it happened many times. So there was no doubt in my mind that God is real. God is there. God is protecting me. And I remember those times I used to pass there, I used to tell God in Shang, I mean, mazee God, kama huko mazee Joe, ukinipitisha hapa leo, sitarudia tena history, sitarudia. And I remember those times that I used to stay, before now I moved in with my mother, I used to stay in Umoja. And maybe you find I'm from Huruma, this area of John Saga, do my stuff, and I have to walk from Huruma, Kariobangi, civil servants, that bridge to Umoja. That bridge was very dangerous those days. And before I crossed the bridge, I could stand and make a prayer and tell God, God, I know you are real. Nipitishe tu leo tu God. Ukinipitisha tu hapa God, sitarudia na kusabu. Immediately I passed the bridge.
Unawasha kucelebrate.
Yeah, celebrate. And the nearest pub, those days it was I think it was Webster or something, up Caltex now. Maybe Bomolea when the the highway. No Kangundo Road, there's Outer Ring. It was just opposite outer, the Kangundo Road opposite. Naingia hapo, naambia mazee God, you to understand. So that was, and I thank God because God is patient. God is patient with us. That's how patient God is with us. And I thank my mother so much. And those women who stood with me, prayed with me, never got tired to pray with me. So my life continued. Dipping down because I have no purpose. Sometimes take overdose of drugs so that I die. I survive. So it went on that way up to 2001, June 26th. Is when now I knew my time in the kingdom of darkness was up. Because I knew very well where I'm heading to. I'm going to die. And for a reason now, I started fearing death. Here I was many times wanting to die. But 2001, I started reflecting about my life. I'm picturing most of my friends died, HIV accidents. And my brothers are doing well. I remember now, they had cleared college. My mother had relocated back. No, she was almost about to relocate back to join my father up country. She was retiring then. And so I started reflecting about my life. Here I am, the firstborn. I'm the least schooled. All in my family, all of them. I have brothers with master's degree, with PhD degrees and college certificates, and here am I, firstborn, but nothing to show. In fact, I remember it reached a time I hated all my family. I hated all of them because I see they're doing well.
Yeah.
And it's not that nobody has denied me any chance. My dad did the best, got me one of the best jobs I did with a very good company, very good money. And so I messed my life. And so they did everything. And 2001, I remember now, I told you now we separated again with my wife. Now that meant I had 2 different kids from 2 different women. And so I remember in June, now Rosalind, that's her name, she got born again and came back to where my mother's place, just to tell me I'm born again. Now my life has changed, and so you can come to see the kid, your son, be coming. I'm not preventing you to be coming and seeing him. And so you have to, if we have to get back together, that means you have to change completely. You have to change. Because I remember even that time we had separated, I used to come and see them. They used to stay in Jerusalem, just across the road here. So, and I could take the kid, take him to the club, because I used to drink. So he's there, I'm drinking, I'm smoking weed. And so I remember there's a time I went to see him, and another woman told me that he's called Sydney, they're my son. So she told me, tuliona Didi, some guy was passing with smoking a cigarette and threw the bat, and Sydney picked. He was about 2-3 years old. He picked the bat and was smoking. So when she told me that, it's like, oh, this is the influence.
Yeah.
And that's why sometimes I discourage the dads who drink in the house. They say, I better buy the drinks and drink from the house and send the kids cigarettes from the shop, and they're smoking, and the kids are seeing them. You know, what we say, monkey see, monkey do. So that thing hit me. It hit me. But that was the moment now I was almost getting fed up with this life. And now my wife has got born again. She comes, and I remember that night I tried sleeping. I didn't sleep. I was so stoned. I'd done a lot of cocktail of drugs and trying to sleep. I'm not sleeping. Started thinking about this God. And I remember very well, I had a very clear, because what my wife had told me, you have to change. Change was echoing in my mind. Change. And I was like, how do I change? And I had a very clear, loud voice. Change is salvation. Change is salvation. The only way for change, the only way to change is salvation. I woke up in the morning, I thought, because I was so stoned, I thought, hizo ni zile effects.
I was just high.
Yeah, but in the morning I felt a very, very strong conviction that you have to get born again. And I went to a pastor friend. They used to come and preach to me, and he was called Ben. He's a pastor now at Baptist, Ben Ingala. I went to his house to get saved. He wasn't there, he had gone to college. I went to another prep friend, he's called Churchill. He's a pastor now, Pastor Churchill Malimo. He had gone to college, they were doing their theological degrees. So I went back to the house and told myself, maybe this is not time to get born again. I'll get born again, it's okay. But the conviction was, I went back and did some more drugs in the house. And then went back again, they were not there. Both went back the third time, they were not there. Now it's towards lunchtime. Though the conviction was so strong, now it's true. Today is not your day. You'll still get born again. But I thought, wow, there's this Tumaini ministry. The bishop is called Wetindi Alfred, and there used to be an admin, Sylvester, he passed on. So I went to the ministry office. They used to stay near where we used to stay, my mother's place. So I go to the office. For them it was a shock because I'm the guy who used to chase their team from the house. When they come every Tuesday for fellowship after fasting. Even the team used to fast and pray for me. So I walk into their office, they look at me shocked.
Of course.
Yeah, and it's like I'm looking at them. This time I'm expecting them to start preaching. They're not preaching, they're just
Staring.
Wamezuba. It's like, what is happening today? Isaac amekuja kwa ofisi, and it's like, I'm stoned, they can see I'm high. And I tell them, nataka kuokoka. They look at me, and it's like they're thinking now, leo zimelipuka now. This is Madari case, you know. 10 minutes silence, then I kneel down. I start crying, and then I just ask the bishop, I mean, have I ever pulled this type of joke? And I remember ile kuniharakisha, sema nyuma yangu Bwana Yesu, they really wanted to get rid of me so that zikilipuka zilipuke huko nikawa nimetoka, you know. And that's what sometimes I always tell pastors, even if somebody, I've had pastors say ati mtu akiwa amelewa don't minister to them, usimuombe, ajui ni nini anafanya. We forget that the conviction for salvation comes from the Holy Spirit and Jesus. It's by the time mtu decide I'm getting born again, it's not the devil. It's not the devil. Me, I was led to Christ. I was so stoned. I repeated the prayer, went back to the house. I remember I still had drugs in the house. I told God, God, wacha nipige hii ya mwisho. Then I did my drugs, nikabakisha. Yeah, I did the last drugs I had in the house, locked myself in the house. And by the time 1 hour, the whole estate walikuwa shajua hizo ameokoka, hizo ameokoka, so they would come, knock the window. Hizo twende base. They could even show me drugs from the window. I'm struggling, but I decided I locked myself in the house. After that I went, I found Pastor Churchill had come. I told him I'm born again. Are you born again? Oh, that's good. He gave me a Bible, so I have this Bible. Before I got born again, I used to read a lot of novels. I did literature. I was I like reading up to now. So I used to read those Robert Ludlum, those big novels. So when I got all of the Bible, I started reading the Bible, locked myself in the room, in the house, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, lunchtime. The crave was now too much, too much. Nimejaribu kuvumilia. The withdrawal symptoms have started hitting me. I'm not sleeping. I have the tremors. I'm scratching all over the body. I'm diarrheaing. I'm vomiting. And I'm telling God, now God, this one, if you don't come through for me, I'm dead. Because I know the withdrawal effects, symptoms can kill, especially heroin, if you are in hard drugs. Yeah. So that Wednesday lunchtime, it was too much. And I told God, now God, if you don't come for me, then I'm dying. So I left the house, went to a certain base there, and bought hashish. Hashish is marijuana laced with some drugs. I went to a quarry because I didn't want people to see me, because it had spread, and they were saying, it's all leo aishi, leo kesho, when Tuesday, Wednesday. So I went to a quarry. I remember I lit the hashish and I pointed to God. The lit hashish, I pointed in heaven and nikamwambia God, mazee God, kama uko real, God, if you are real, wacha nivute hii ya mwisho. I remember I did only 2 puffs, nikasikia kizunguzungu ingine like kichwa imezunguka. Unajua nikaa imezunguka 360 degrees very fast. I feel vomit. I felt very dizzy. I threw it. And then I had a conviction. I'm real. I had a voice like speaking. You are daring. If I'm real, then I'm real. I knew that is God speaking. And that was the end of it. That's how I got delivered. I didn't go to any rehab. And that's when now I felt God leading me to do ministry. And immediately after that, I remember I called my parents at home. I told them, I'm born again, I've quit. I called my wife, told her, I'm born again. Started going to fellowship. I remember Tumaini ministry. After 1 month, took me for ministry to Western. Went to Kakamega, Bungoma, Lugari, and Butere.
Wow, that is a story and a half. And we're out of time. We need a part 2. And the part 2, I think you'll just come back again and now tell us life after. How it has been being in Christ, standing on the solid rock right now, life away from drugs, starting life on a clean slate, all by the help of God. You know, this is not something you can like point a finger to yourself or to someone. This is totally God. And we'll call you again and have the story again, because this is amazing. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Congratulations again and again and again.
Thank you.
And God bless you, Bana, for the choice that you made to continue and to be faithful throughout.
Yeah, it's not. And my parting shot is to any parents out there, never cease praying for your kids. I remember the more my mom prayed, the worse I became. But she never, I remember my mom used to prophesy and tell me, Isaac, this Jesus you are rejecting, you will be traveling all over the world proclaiming Jesus. And it came to pass. I traveled all over the world speaking about this, teaching and preaching about Jesus. So parents out there, never cease praying. And to anybody who's out there struggling in any form of addiction, the only way for change is Jesus.
Yeah.
The only way for change. Rehabs can help, but without Jesus,
Waste of time and money.
yes. So Jesus is the way, the truth, and life.
What a better way to sum it up. I'm not adding another thing. This is an amazing testimony. This is oh God. God bless you. Sana tena sana. We'll have him back here for part 2, so watch out for that. It has been an honor having you here, Mr. Isaac.
Pleasure.
And also an honor for you back at home following us from the start to this very end. Thank you very much for choosing EBN TV to bless your morning today. We shall meet, shall the Lord allow us. Until next time, my name is Consolata Chibalonza. Stay blessed.
Amen.